Good day, my happy friends. I am Drew Eric Miller, and thanks for choosing my podcast. With so much content in the world today, it's my honor to bring you just a little more happiness with each listen. I used to wonder, can I be happier? Can I live a rich, abundant life? Can I dream big and manifest my dreams? The short answer is yes, I can. After much dedicated research, I have discovered beneficial action steps, tools, and life hacks while thriving on my journey to deep and meaningful happiness. In this podcast, I am sharing my research so you too can thrive on your journey to happiness. So get comfortable with a notepad or journal, and together we will manifest happiness. Good day, my happy listeners. Welcome back to Happiness Hacks, the podcast. Today is Season 1, Episode 15. Can I be still and listen? I'll start off with a quote from Eckhart Tolle. Being at ease with not knowing is crucial for answers to come to you. So embrace the unknown. So many times in my life, I have embraced the unknown. And it's essential. We don't always have the answers, and we don't always know how something is going to unfold or how we're going to do something. Especially if we're starting something new, we don't have the answers. So we just have to be confident and believe that we will succeed in what we are attempting to do, because the unknown is a beautiful place to live. We need to embrace the unknown, and then we need to be still and listen for that inner guidance. There is an inner guidance that is our compass, that is our higher self, that lies within us, deep within us, that is always sharing insights, always sharing direction, always sharing guidance. Some people call it intuition. Some people call it the God voice. Some people call it your higher power, your higher self, your inner knowing. I like inner knowing personally. It doesn't matter what you call it, but your inner guidance, my inner guidance, is always giving us the answers and the direction we need to look for the answers. So it's either giving us the answers, the direction to look for the answers, who to talk to for the answers, what to do, a good idea, an inner guidance system that is within us, that is always leading us on the right path. It is our higher self that knows, this knowing. There's a lot of times in my life that I listened to this inner knowing. When I wrote my book, that was an inner knowing thought. I got the idea out of inspiration from my higher self, and I thought, well, I don't know how to write a book. I don't have an editor. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. But I embraced the unknown after I got still and listened. And I moved forward. I was like, well, my higher self, my inner knowing will tell me, how to and where to get this information. I was able to find everything that I needed by the inner guidance that I had. When I started my podcast or wrote the course that I wrote, the Yes I Can Manifest Greater Happiness, I didn't know how to write a course. I didn't know how to edit a course. I didn't know how to pull all my notes together and put it in a cohesive pattern. I didn't know how to write a PowerPoint or create a graphic PowerPoint or do advertising or marketing for any of that. None of it. But I believed that my inner knowing and that I had the ability to be still and listen, and that was going to give me those answers. So I embraced the unknown each and every time. So when we allow space for that inner knowing, it's like working out. The more we do it, the better we get at it, and the better that we are able to listen and hear that small, sometimes quiet voice, soft voice. Whenever I listen and get that higher
voice to me, immediately when I hear it, I always go, oh, yeah, that's a really good idea. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. It always vibrates in me in a way that feels really good. And so that way, I always know that that is my inner self, my inner knowing, my higher self, giving me that direction of something that will work very well for me. We all have talents and instincts that were put in us at birth, that are our natural ability. That's what makes us unique and an individual. That's what makes us each individual person fantastic and have something amazing to offer. And that inner guidance knows what that talent is within us that is helping us, blossom into our full potential that we have and that we can be every day. I have a little story about my mom. Many years ago, my mom separated from her second husband. We called him. They never got married, but they were essentially married. They were together for a little over 10 years. When they got separated, it was very difficult for her, and it was very devastating. And she was depressed, and she was hurt, and didn't know where to go or how this was going to work or what her future was going to be like. And she just felt depressed. She was just down. And she was questioning if she was going to be able to make it, to come out of this, how was she going to survive on her own without her spouse and without their companionship? Was she going to be able to pay for herself and support herself and take care of her home and do all the things that she'd still had done, previously? And so those were all questions for her that she needed those answers for. And her inner guidance said to her, take that $5 scratch-off ticket that you won and go buy 5 more tickets. It was a simple request. And my mom was very good at following her intuition, following that inner guidance. And so she gave it to my brother, and she said, go to the store and buy some Coke and get me 5 more scratch-off tickets with this scratch-off. And so he did, and he came back, and she, got her Coke and was scratching off the card. And lo and behold, she wins $5,000 in a scratch-off right at her local 7-Eleven where she was living. Immediately, that told her that she was going to be okay, that she was going to be taken care of, that she was going to be supplied, the money was going to come, the safety was going to come, the security was going to come. She had everything she needed, which is true for everybody. And that gave her the boost and confidence that she needed in that moment of sadness and depression and anxiety, that she needed to move forward, knowing that she was going to be okay. At the time, I was in college, and I had an opportunity. This is very funny. I had an opportunity to buy a trailer for myself to live in while I was in college. Some people, the rich kids in college would, their parents would buy them a house, and they would live in that. And then when they were graduated from college, they would sell the house. A friend of mine did that. And I didn't have that kind of money, but I did know the maid that worked at the school. She was selling her trailer because she had just bought a house, and the trailer was right across the street from the school. And so I became a trailer owner when I was in college. And how I bought that was my mom gave me $1,000 out of her $5,000 winning, and I used that $1,000 to buy that trailer that was across the street from campus. That the school actually owned the lot that the trailer was on. So yeah, I was a trailer owner at an early age. To go along with the separation and divorce story about my mom, I also, when I got divorced, The last month that I was in my relationship, um, it was depressing, and I was struggling to make an income with my real estate appraisal business. By the time that I ended the relationship, I had made very little money that previous month. So there was a very distinct question for myself. I found myself in the same position as my mom. Am I going to be able to support myself when now that I'm not in this relationship? That was a very important question for myself. And so what I did was I got still and I listened and I followed my direction with my appraisal business on every single idea and suggestion that I received. Every avenue, every way. I called all these vendors that had been, I've been working with, signed up some new vendors, and within a month, I had increased the quantity of appraisals I was receiving. And in 3 months, I had my best deposits in a month that I ever had in my entire life and career up until that moment. And so 3 months after I separated from my partner, I'm going to be okay. I can do this on my own. I don't have to be dependent on anyone. I'm able to do this. I followed my guidance, and it led me to the most successful month I had ever had in my life with my career, or any career that I've had. So following and listening for that inner guidance is the key. There's a well-known story about Angela Lansbury that I'd like to share. Some of you might have heard this or read about it or something. Angela Lansbury listened to her inner guidance, and in the late 60s, she moved her family to Ireland. In Los Angeles, her daughter Deidre was drawn in by a charismatic man and his friends, and Angela Lansbury called them bad influences. Deidre was about 15 or 16 years old, and she began using drugs, stole her mother's credit card, and was buying things on the credit card until her mother cut off the credit card. This man had a collection of bad influences, and they were all in their late teens and early 20s. That's when Angela Lansbury listened to that inner voice within her that said, you need to leave, and you need to move to Ireland, and you need to take your family away from this bad influence. And she followed that instinct. She followed that direction. She told her husband that they needed to pick up sticks, her quote, and move the family to County Cork in Ireland. Her mother was from Ireland, was born in Ireland, and so she always had a kinship feeling for Ireland, and that's where she chose to take her family. She refused all work for a year and learned how to cook. She said, it was a wonderful time in my life. She listened to that inner voice, and that inner guidance and listening that she got still and heard led her to a place that away from her children's bad influence, her daughter's bad influence. Both her son and daughter were beginning to use drugs in Los Angeles. And when they arrived in Ireland, they were able to get off the drugs and to change their life for the better. And she was so grateful for that they lived there from the late 60s to the 1979 was when she sold the house, and I believe they moved back to the States, is what I learned on the Google, what it was telling me. It was a life-changing experience for her and her family, and she was able to listen and guide her family, change her life, and they all benefited from that experience. On August 9th, 1969, while Angela and her family were safely out of the country, Charles Manson's followers, the bad influencers, killed a pregnant Sharon Tate and 4 others. So that inner guidance that she had about the bad influence was about Charles Manson, and her daughter, her teenage daughter, was succumbed to the charismatic nature of Charles Manson. And she chose to save her family and get her family away from Charles Manson. That is listening. That is the kind of level of importance that our inner guidance is giving to us every single day. So when you are still and listen, you will hear that guidance, and it will tell you exactly what is best for you. So be still and listen. And here are your action steps. 1, be still and listen. 2, act on the direction you receive. And 3, be okay with not knowing. Thanks for listening to Happiness Hacks, and be sure to have a happy week and tune in next week.